Far beyond the glowing edge of Earth, where the stars shimmered like scattered diamonds and the planets spun in slow, graceful circles, floated a little space kid named Nova. He wore a soft silver suit that sparkled faintly whenever he moved, and his round helmet glowed gently like a lantern, keeping him cozy as he drifted among the stars. Nova loved space more than anything. He loved how quiet it was, how the stars twinkled like fireflies, and how the comets painted long, glowing trails across the darkness. Tonight was no ordinary night in the galaxy. Nova had been given a very special mission. He was to visit a dreamy, magical place whispered about by astronauts and stargazers alike, the Nap Nebula. Some said it was a giant cloud of stardust that rocked travelers to sleep with its gentle hum. Others said it shimmered like a quilt made of soft galaxies, wrapping anyone who found it in endless comfort. Nova's eyes shone with excitement as he adjusted his little thrusters and set off on his journey. He zipped past Saturn, its golden rings glowing softly in the starlight. He waved to Jupiter, where fluffy storm cloud swirls danced like giant ribbons. He drifted past tiny Pluto, who twinkled shyly at him from far away. And all the while, his heart beat calmly, carrying him closer and closer to the glowing cloud of dreams. As he traveled, the stars seemed to sing to him. Their twinkles came together like a lullaby, and Nova hummed along, his voice soft and steady in the quiet of space. His helmet filled with the sound of his own tune, and soon he began to feel warm, as though the galaxy itself was guiding him toward something safe and wonderful. In the distance, he saw it at last, the Nap Nebula. It wasn't like any star or planet he had seen before. It was a wide, glowing cloud, full of soft swirls of purple, blue, and pink. Starlight sparkled inside it like tiny night lamps, and the whole thing pulsed gently, like a giant heart breathing in time with the universe. Nova's eyes grew wide with wonder. "It's real," he whispered, "and it's waiting for me." Nova floated closer and closer, his silver suit glimmering like a little star against the vastness of space. The Nap Nebula loomed before him, stretching wider than entire planets, its edges curling like wisps of cotton candy, soft and glowing in swirls of purple, pink, and blue. Each swirl pulsed faintly, as though the nebula itself was alive and breathing, exhaling peace into the galaxy. He slowed his thrusters and reached out a gloved hand. The moment his fingertips brushed the edge of the nebula, a gentle warmth spread through him, like slipping into a soft blanket fresh from the sun. The stardust curled around his arm, shimmering, and gave a faint hum that sounded like a lullaby only space itself could sing. Nova gasped softly, his eyes wide with wonder. "It feels cozy," he whispered, his voice echoing faintly inside his helmet. The stardust wrapped further around him, pulling him gently inside. It wasn't frightening, it was like being rocked in a cradle made of clouds. The air shimmered with floating motes of light, each one glowing like a tiny lantern. Some drifted close and twinkled against his helmet, making soft, bell-like sounds before floating away again. Nova giggled, the sound bouncing around his helmet. "You're like little dreamlights," he said. Deeper inside the nebula, the colors grew richer. Streams of glowing pinks curled around his feet, while waves of blue and violet arched overhead, twinkling faintly with hidden stars. It was like walking through a sky made of pillows, each step sinking softly and bouncing him back up. Nova stretched out his arms, drifting like a feather through the endless softness. And then he noticed something even more magical. Out of the stardust, shapes began to form, gentle, glowing creatures made from light itself. A small star kitten with shining whiskers padded toward him, leaving glowing paw prints that floated upward and popped like bubbles. A stardust turtle drifted lazily through the glowing swirls, its shell shimmering with entire constellations. Above him, a bird made of nebula feathers spread its wings wide, scattering 1,000 glittering motes like snow. Nova's heart thumped softly with joy. He floated closer to the star kitten, reaching out a cautious hand. To his delight, the kitten leapt onto his arm, weightless and warm, its tiny body vibrating with a soft purr that traveled through his glove and into his heart. Nova closed his eyes for a moment, letting the sound sink into him, "You're like a lullaby in fur," he whispered. The turtle swam lazily by, humming in a low, steady rhythm that seemed to match the heartbeat of the nebula. Each note it made the stardust around them shimmer and shift, swirling into new patterns like the pages of a story being turned. Nova followed its slow movements, his breaths matching the calm rhythm, until he felt like his whole body was rocking gently with the song. The bird swooped down, its feathers brushing lightly against his helmet, leaving a trail of silver dust that sparkled for a moment before drifting into nothing. It circled him once, then perched on a curl of nebula nearby, tucking its head beneath a glowing wing as though settling down to rest. Nova floated among them all, his pajama-like suit glowing faintly in harmony with the nebula. He realized he wasn't just visiting the Nap Nebula, he was being welcomed into it, as though the star creatures already knew he belonged here. He tucked his legs up and floated into a seated curl, letting the stardust cradle him. The nebula's hum grew softer, slower, like a giant rocking him to sleep. The kitten purred louder, the turtle hummed deeper, and the bird gave one final sleepy trill before growing quiet. Nova's eyelids fluttered, heavy but happy. Before he drifted off, he whispered, "Thank you for letting me in. I've never felt so calm." The nebula seemed to respond, its whole body glowing brighter for just a moment before dimming into a steady, soothing rhythm. Nova's body rocked softly in the embrace of the nebula, drifting as if he were a leaf floating down a calm river of light. The star kitten purred on his arm, the turtle's hum surrounded him like a deep heartbeat, and the bird of silver feathers dozed above, glowing faintly in sleep. The air shimmered around him, heavy with comfort. Yet the stars on his suit sparkled brighter, tugging gently, as though urging him to drift further inward. He stretched his arms out wide, letting the current of stardust carry him. The deeper he went, the softer everything became. Swirls of lavender mist curled into shapes that looked like blankets, folding gently as he passed. Ribbons of pale blue light streamed downward, wrapping around him like scarves. The colors didn't dazzle, they whispered. They were the kind of hues that made his eyes heavy and his heart light. Then he saw them, hammocks of light, swaying gently between strands of glowing nebula. They were long arcs of silver, soft and weightless, suspended like crescent moons. Each one rocked slowly, as though an invisible hand kept them moving, waiting for any traveler who needed rest. Nova floated closer, reaching out. The hammock rippled beneath his gloved fingers, warm and velvety like starlight spun into fabric. He smiled sleepily, and with a small wiggle, climbed into it. The hammock cradled him instantly, curving to fit his small body. He lay back, his helmet glinting as it tilted against the light, and sighed. Above him, tiny stars drifted down like feathers, dissolving against his suit in little puffs of warmth. He reached up lazily to catch one, and it melted into his palm, leaving behind the faint scent of vanilla and lavender. Around the hammock floated clusters of pillows, round and plump, made of glowing clouds. They bobbed gently, bumping into one another like sleepy fireflies. Nova reached for one, hugged it against his chest, and felt it sigh, a soft puff of air that made him giggle. "Star pillows," he whispered. "They're alive." The pillow wriggled once, then settled in his arms, as if glad to be held. The hammock swayed more deeply now, and the nebula began to hum again. But this time, the hum was not alone. It grew into a melody, soft and steady, rising and falling like waves. The turtle's deep voice wove the bass, the kitten purred the middle notes, and high above, the bird trilled the faintest melody. Together, they sang in harmony, filling the nebula with a lullaby so soft that it seemed to flow right through Nova's bones. And behind them, even deeper, came another sound, the voice of the galaxy itself. It wasn't loud, nor sharp, it was the low, endless song of stars being born and fading, the hush of planets spinning, the sigh of comets passing by. It was ancient, steady, and safe, wrapping around Nova's heart like the biggest blanket he had ever known. His eyes fluttered as he listened. The lullaby painted pictures in his mind, fields of stars swaying like tall grass, moons rocking in their orbits like cradles, whole galaxies curling into spirals like kittens falling asleep. He saw himself among them, small but important, one light among many, part of the same great hush. Nova clutched the star pillow tighter and turned on his side. The hammock rocked with him, gentle as a mother's hand. The lullaby continued, softer and slower, until it felt like it was sinking with his heartbeat. His breathing slowed. His body melted deeper into the hammock. The kitten purred louder, the turtle hummed lower, the bird gave a sleepy trill that trembled into silence. And the galaxy whispered, "Rest, little one, rest." Nova drifted in the hammock of light, swaying gently as the starry lullaby wrapped around him. His eyelids grew heavy, yet his suit's twinkling stars flickered again, as though nudging him to open his eyes. He blinked slowly, and to his amazement, the glowing mist around him began to shift. Shapes of light curled out of the nebula, not frightening or sharp, but playful, like dream friends made from the very stars. The first to appear was a constellation boy, drawn entirely from glittering lines. His eyes were twin sparks, his smile a curve of stardust. He waved at Nova, his glowing outline shimmering. "Come play," the starlight boy seemed to whisper, though no sound filled the air. Nova sat up in the hammock, hugging his star pillow close, and nodded. The boy's laughter rippled like a bell as he darted off into the clouds. Nova wriggled free from the hammock and floated after him, light as a feather. His paws pushed against the soft air, and the hammock faded behind him as he drifted deeper. More figures appeared, a constellation rabbit with ears longer than the moon's curve, bounding in loops of golden light, a starfish swimming through the air, its fins scattering motes of glow, and even a cluster of twinkling dots that turned into a small family of bears, tumbling playfully through the clouds. They played hide-and-seek among the swirls of mist. The rabbit darted behind a curl of nebula, its ears glowing like lanterns until it popped back out, giggling in light. The starfish vanished into a stream of glowing motes, then leapt upward, shimmering like fireworks before dissolving back into the river of light. The constellation boy danced around Nova, tracing glowing lines in the air, then wrapping them into shapes, first a kite, then a flower, then a glowing crown that he placed gently on Nova's helmet. Nova giggled, his voice echoing softly inside his suit. As they played, Nova noticed a gentle river forming at the center of the nebula. It wasn't water but a stream of liquid starlight, flowing slow and steady like honey. It glowed pale silver, curling and winding through the mist. The star friends drifted toward it, and Nova followed. He leaned down and dipped his glove into the stream. The starlight clung to him, warm and soft, sliding across his fingers like silk before bursting into tiny lights that floated upward. Each burst gave off a faint note, a soft musical tone, so the whole river sang as it flowed. Nova trailed his fingers through it, drawing patterns. Each line he made shone briefly before vanishing, and every motion added notes to the river's melody. Soon, the whole stream was singing, its music mingling with the nebula's hum. It was as though the river itself was a lullaby waiting for curious paws to play. The constellation rabbit leapt into the current, bobbing up and down like a toy, and the bears tumbled after it, glowing brightly as the river carried them along. The star boy beckoned Nova closer. "Lie down," the gesture seemed to say. So Nova carefully stretched out across the stream, his body resting weightlessly as the liquid starlight held him up. It rocked him gently, carrying him forward as though he were in a cradle made from the galaxy's glow. Above him, the nebula swirled slowly, its colors shifting from violet to rose to silver. The bird of light swooped past once more, scattering feathers that floated like glowing snowflakes. The turtle swam lazily nearby, humming deep and steady. The kitten curled on his chest, purring, its glowing fur warming his heart. And the river sang on, its lullaby syncing with his breaths. Nova's crown of starlight slipped gently down until it rested against his cheek, glowing faintly. He closed his eyes, letting the river carry him through curling arches of light, through glowing tunnels of nebula, past constellations waving softly as they faded back into the sky. His body grew heavy, but not in a way that was uncomfortable, heavy the way one feels just before sleep, when the world feels safe enough to let go. The starlight river curved downward, its current slowing, its song softening. Nova clutched his star pillow tighter and whispered in his drowsy voice, "I never knew space could feel like a bed." His voice drifted away, swallowed by the soft music of the river. The starlight river curled gently, its glowing current slowing as if it knew Nova was growing sleepier with every breath. He floated on its surface, the soft star pillow still tucked against his chest, his little body rocked side to side in the same rhythm as a lullaby. The constellation rabbit bounded ahead, leaving trails of light that faded into the mist, while the glowing turtle drifted lazily beside him, humming a note so deep it seemed to come from the center of the universe itself. The whole river was guiding him somewhere special. As he rounded a bend in the glowing current, the nebula opened up into a vast chamber of light. It was quieter here, the mist softer, the stars dimmer, as though the whole galaxy had tiptoed into silence to protect a secret. In the center of this chamber floated a cradle made not of wood or stone but of galaxies themselves. Its sides were arcs of spiraling stars, each one spinning slowly, their light gentle and low. The base of the cradle shimmered with silver mist, swaying like a hammock hung between the arms of the cosmos. Nova's eyes grew wide inside his helmet. He whispered, "The heart of the Nap Nebula." His voice trembled with awe, though it was nearly lost to the softness of the chamber. The river carried him directly to the cradle, lifting him higher until he floated just above its glowing surface. With a soft push of starlight, the current set him gently down inside. The galaxy hammock cradled him perfectly, adjusting to the shape of his small body. His helmet rested against the curve of a glowing arm of stars, while the silver mist curled over him like a blanket. It was so warm, so light, that Nova sighed deeply, his whole body melting into the cradle. Above him, the stars of the chamber shifted slowly, forming new constellations just for him. A motherly shape of light leaned forward, watching him with eyes of silver. A glowing dragon curled protectively, its tail looping into infinity. A flock of birds shaped from stars circled slowly, their wings creating soft breezes that cooled the air around him. They weren't here to play anymore. They were here to watch, to guard, to keep him safe while he drifted into deeper sleep. The galaxy cradle swayed gently, rocked by invisible hands. With each sway, the mist blanket grew warmer, the lullaby of the nebula quieter and slower. Nova's breathing matched the cradle's rhythm. Inhale with the rise. Exhale with the fall. His eyelids fluttered shut, and even in the dark behind them, he saw light, tiny points of glow, like stars winking hello. The star kitten jumped onto his chest again, curling into a glowing ball. It purred loudly, but not in a way that disturbed him. It was the sound of a soft engine keeping his dreams alive. The turtle settled at the base of the cradle, its shell glowing faintly as it hummed the deepest note of all. The silver bird perched high on one of the cradle's arcs, tucking its glowing head beneath a wing, joining in the hush. Then, as though the universe itself leaned in, the cradle began to sing. It wasn't a voice, not really, but a weaving of every sound Nova had heard: the turtle's hum, the kitten's purr, the river's song, the bird's trill, the hum of the nebula, and the silence of space itself. Together, they formed a lullaby so complete that it wrapped around Nova like the softest blanket he had ever known. He shifted once in the cradle, hugging his star pillow tighter. His tiny lips curved into a sleepy smile, and he whispered, "Thank you. I've never felt so cozy." His voice drifted away like a feather, and his breathing grew slower, deeper, steadier. The cradle of galaxies swayed on, keeping time with his rest. Outside, the Nap Nebula pulsed gently, its colors dimming into deep blues and silvers, the shades of midnight. The entire chamber seemed to fall asleep with him, every light softening, every swirl of mist slowing. It was as though the whole universe had chosen to take a nap beside Nova, honoring his little heart with the quietest peace. The cradle of galaxies rocked slowly, its arcs of starlight glowing like soft lanterns in the dark. Nova lay curled inside, his star pillow hugged tightly against his chest, the silver mist covering him like a quilt. His little breaths rose and fell, quiet and steady, as though he had become part of the lullaby itself. Each rise matched the sway of the cradle, each fall matched the hum of the turtle resting nearby. Above him, the stars continued to rearrange themselves into gentle shapes. A motherly figure bent close, her outline glowing faintly, her light warm and steady. A constellation of foxes danced softly in the distance, their paws leaving trails of sparkles before fading back into the sky. The bird of silver feathers gave a single, soft trill before tucking its head down once more, as though singing a good-night note only for Nova. The entire chamber of the Nap Nebula hushed into silence, save for the lullaby that seemed to flow from everywhere at once. The mist whispered, the starlight river sighed far behind him, the arcs of galaxies hummed like the strings of a harp. And above it all, the voice of the universe itself returned, low, ancient, endless. It wasn't words, but Nova understood it. Rest now, little one. You are safe. You are loved. Your light will always belong to the stars. Nova shifted in the cradle, his gloved paw brushing against the glowing mist. His helmet tilted softly to one side, the reflection of the stars painting across the curve of the glass. A small, sleepy smile lingered on his face as his body sank deeper into the galaxy's embrace. The star kitten purred on his chest, its glow dimming in time with his breath. The turtle's hum grew slower, steadier, almost like a giant heartbeat echoing through the chamber. Slowly, the stars on Nova's silver suit stopped flickering one by one. They didn't go out, they simply rested, holding their glow deep inside, waiting for morning. The arcs of the cradle swayed, slower now, until it seemed like the entire cosmos was asleep with him. And as Nova drifted into the deepest sleep, the Nap Nebula shifted around him, folding itself like a blanket. The swirls of violet and blue dimmed into twilight colors, the kind that children see when they close their eyes and let their thoughts float away. The constellations above settled into stillness. The bird's feathers stopped glowing. The rabbit curled into a ball of light at the foot of the cradle. The whole universe hushed itself into dreams. If you had listened then, very closely, you would have heard the lullaby of the cosmos weaving into your own heart. It would have told you the same thing it told Nova: you are safe. You are warm. You are loved. You are ready for the sweetest dreams tonight. The cradle swayed one last time, settling into perfect stillness. The mist covered Nova fully, his breath slow, steady, peaceful. And all around him, the stars twinkled softly, watching, guarding, dreaming beside him. Back in the little corners of Earth, where children lay in their own beds, the same stars twinkled in the night sky outside their windows, as if whispering from afar, "Rest now, little one. The universe sings you to sleep." And so Nova slept, wrapped in galaxies, carried by the softest lullaby space could offer. His dreams stretched wide and endless, just like the sky above, gentle, glowing, and safe.